Chapter 6, Managing Social Media Communications and Planning Styles. So this week we're going to learn about the importance of planning social media communications. Remember that part of social media marketing is plan messages, and part of it is responding in the moment. So it's important that you plan social media communications. Also, we're going to learn how to take strategic objectives and turn them into actionable tasks, understand the importance of day-to-day social media management, and know how to develop social media management policies. So let's talk a little bit about the importance of planning. The key to making a great social media marketing strategy a success is planning. Often this means marketers need to have detailed plans for each day. Planning for social media marketing communications should take two forms: planning for specific campaigns and planning for ongoing social media marketing activities that are not specific to any one marketing campaign or promotional cadence. And it's important to keep that in mind as you move forward to both plan specific campaigns as well as keeping activities up, normalized activities. Social media marketing planning is primarily about getting organized so that strategies are implemented efficiently, on schedule, and effectively. So let's talk about the planning process. The planning process starts with setting up strategic objectives. Now, these strategic objectives should help reach business goals, all right? And then creating a strategic plan around those objectives, implementing that plan, all right? What platforms are we going to use? What types of communications are we going to use? When and how often? Next, we'll want to establish policies as far as policies, who's responsible for what, right? How do we respond to people? When do we post? We need to establish those policies up front. Next, we're going to allocate resources and set key responsibilities between our teammates. 6, we'll compile a social media calendar and set timelines. And we'll show you an example here in a second of a social media calendar. 7, we're going to evaluate progress. Later today, you're going to begin your social media mimic simulation. It's important that you keep track of important social media benchmarks. So you'll evaluate progress. And then finally, adjust strategy. So it's really interesting that we're talking about the planning process, and you're also starting the social media mimic simulation today. So you're going to go through all of this. Actually, in the simulation, we set the strategic objectives for you. You create the strategic plan, the implementation, and allocate resources, responsibilities, and create your calendars, evaluate your progress, and then you're going to adjust strategy between the second and third round, the fourth and fifth round, and the sixth and seventh round. The planning process for social media marketing communication activities has 8 stages. The first 2 stages were covered in previous chapters. So let's talk a little bit about the implementation plan, which was the third action. This stage is extremely important because it is where the strategic plan gets converted into specific action items and can be implemented effectively. The following questions should be asked when you're creating an implementation plan. What should be done? By who? How? When? How much will it cost? What resources are needed? And what are the non-negotiable outcomes versus the icing on the cake outcomes? What do you want to achieve? What objectives do you want to achieve? Right? So the answers to these questions will help you set your implementation plan. Next, you'll want to establish policies. And social media marketing should come across as human, even though they come from companies or brands. And you need to have policies for what can be said and what can't be said in response to earned social media. Have policies for what types of content should be used when creating and posting own social media. And each social media channel that you create should have its own tone and personality. And you need to stick to that tone and a personality and establish those policies. We'll talk about tone and personality in your final project, and I expect you to establish what your tone and policies are. Consider Heinz ketchup. Consider what they did during the recent Super Bowl. They posted Heinz different Heinz memes about what makes them happy, written in ketchup. Right? It established a social media tone, and it was a part of a very successful campaign. Stage 5, allocate resources, set key responsibilities. Two considerations here. Adequate budgets need to be assigned, and key people involved in the implementation efforts need to be given their tasks and responsibilities. So you need to allocate the resources, proper budget, and during your social media simulation with Mimic, you have a budget of $5,000 a week, and you need to establish the key people involved. Set your team. 6, combine calendars and set timelines. 4 considerations here during this stage: content calendaring, frequency, daily, not weekly or monthly, the use of mini campaigns, and themes and specific daily plans. Now, for your final social media project, I've given you an example of a social media editorial calendar. And often these are done in spreadsheets so you can plan out your month. And it's important that you plan your months out. And there's scheduling software like Hootsuite that allows you to pre-program all your social media posts way in advance, and it automatically releases them for you. So again, this is an example of a social media editorial calendar. In the first column, you have the type of social media post and time. The second is the type of post. The third column is the topic. What is the topic about? What goal is it trying to achieve? Next, the fourth column has the actual post that you write. And then the link is in the last column, or the photo, link to the photo that you're going to be using. So this is an example of a social media editorial calendar. In stage 6, you need to evaluate the process. There's 2 levels of considerations here. 1, measuring the performance against strategic objectives on a regular basis, and 2, constantly reevaluating the implementation plan, media policies, and communication of calendars and timelines. Evaluation should connect to team progress towards objectives. Are things working well? What's working well? Is there any room for improvement? What should be changed? Boy, this sounds eerily familiar to your social media audit that I had you guys do a couple weeks ago. It's an important part of your social media plan to produce those audits on a regular basis and evaluate your progress. Finally, what you learn and adjust that strategy. The final stage is having a procedure in place that allows companies to feed the lessons learned back into social media strategy and learn from your mistakes and your successes. And again, that was another example. That was another part of your social media audit. What is working? What isn't working? How can we adjust the strategy to adjust for that? That's it for Chapter 6. Again, make sure that you're starting your Student social media simulation, and there's another video that will walk you through how to do that.